Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, dear guests from all over the world. Welcome to GoodWeek 2021 Prologue. I'm Craig from GoodWeek Solar Academy, and I'm the host today. The GoodWeek event is organized by GoodWeek and many partners, covering the world's major PV markets, and will be held continuously from Monday to Friday this week. We have invited top consulting organizations such as Bloomberg NEF, IHS, Wood Mackenzie, and our close cooperation partners such as LONGi Solar, JA Solar, Canadian Solar, Artec Solar, Array Technologies to participate. At the same time, the European, Asia Pacific, and Latin America, including Brazil, sessions are assisted by well-known mediums such as PV Magazine, New Venture, Energia Strategica, Canal Solar, and so on. Now is the first event of the series, GoodWeek Global. Today's seminar will last 1 hour and 30 minutes. Together, we will understand the development direction of PV market in 2021 from a global perspective, as well as the development and application trends of key solar equipment in 2021. To this end, we are honored to invite professional guests from PV-related fields. They are Vice President of Goodwe Power Technology, Ron Shen, Manager of Global Solar Insight Service in Bloomberg NEF, Jenny Chase, Marketing Manager of Goodwe Power Technology, Eugene, Senior Product Marketing Manager of LONGi Solar, Jason Yan. Let us look forward to their wonderful sharing. So first, let's welcome Ron Shen to share his speech.
Thank you, Craig. Distinguished guests, partners, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ron Shen, Vice President of Goodwe. I'm in charge of international sales. On behalf of Goodwe, it is my great honor and pleasure to extend our heartfelt welcome to all of you and officially inaugurate GoodWeek 2021. GoodWeek is an exciting event that presents us with the opportunity to discuss micro policy, market trends, and technological development with renowned speakers and guests from all over the world. It has aroused the interest of various experts in the field, which makes GoodWeek 2021 one of the most informative events in the industry. I would like to thank all of you for your support. This is not the first event of such kind for GoodWeek. In the past 2 years, GoodWe has held various seminars around the world, providing knowledge and insights for more than 40,000 customers and developers in the PV industry. We remain committed to our service strategy, which is to customer-centered and value creation for stakeholders. We have set up 10 global subsidiaries, established global multilingual call centers and customer service centers. We are also working on an online service platform. As the Chinese saying goes, benefit the people and strive for continuous improvement. Thanks to such efforts, we have achieved rapid growth over the past decades. IHS listed GoodWe as one of the top 10 global inverter brands, and Wood Magazine rated GoodWe as the world #1 brand for energy storage inverters. 2020 was a tough year, but also a year of change. The energy revolution is an inevitable trend. The renewable energy industry has entered a rapid development phase as carbon neutrality has reached global consensus, and the PV industry plays a more important role in global affairs. That's why the title of GoodWeek 2021 is Prologue, because on one hand, we look at the past together and learn from previous experience. But on the other hand, we look at future opportunities presented by PV technologies and work together to create a new era of smart energy. Thank you again for your participation. Hope you have a great week.
Thank you very much for Ron's speech. It really brings us a lot of confidence for both GoodWe and the market. So next, let's welcome Jenny Chase to give us a presentation about the global PV market analysis. Hi, Jenny, are you there?
I am. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So, are you ready?
I am ready. I hope you can see my presentation because I'm sorry I don't speak Chinese.
Okay, so yeah, please kindly start your presentation, Jenny.
Great. Well, it's a really exciting time to be in the solar industry because just the build of solar has grown so quickly over the last few years, and we expect this to continue into the future. The next 2-3 years will be exceptionally strong for solar new build. And for 2021, amazingly, we think that the main manufacturing bottleneck will be the availability of silicon. And there is a huge amount of silicon capacity being built. So the fact that we can be running out of silicon just says how quickly demand is growing. And the price of silver and glass has also risen. But we think this will not prevent solar modules getting even cheaper this year and in the next few years. And of particular relevance to inverter companies like Goodwe is that inverter loading ratios, so the amount of modules that you put on a particular inverter are rising. So module sales do not always translate directly into inverter sales, but inverters will also need to be more complicated, providing grid support services and integrating with batteries. And we see solar and storage growing rapidly as well. This is our best estimate of historical photovoltaic new build and our forecasts for the next few years. You'll notice we still do not know exactly how much got installed in 2020. It was somewhere between 139 gigawatts and 145 gigawatts. But we are waiting on a few big countries to announce final numbers before we narrow that down to a particular number. And we do know that 2021 is going to be even bigger, at least 160 gigawatts, maybe up to 209 gigawatts. 200 gigawatts of solar. I have been running a solar analysis team for 15 years now. And if I had said in 2007, the solar market will be 200 gigawatts by 2021, people would have thought I was mad. I would not have had a career. But yes, we just see it growing and growing. A big chunk of this is China. Well, I'll talk later about some of the individual countries within this stack. I also wanted to mention briefly how surprising this is. So this chart we call the hedgehog chart. The black line is what actually got built, and these lines are our forecasts over time. So in most years, we actually drastically underestimated future build of solar, except 2018. We're not quite sure what happened in 2018, but we were too optimistic in the short term. And even 2020, the pandemic year, we spent much of 2020 worrying about the effect of the pandemic. But except in India and a few developing markets, the pandemic had very little impact on solar build and actually possibly accelerated it in residential markets in the US, Australia, and Europe. So the key conclusion from this chart is that we've been not great at estimating solar new build in the past, but we've usually underestimated rather than overestimated. What was really defined last year was that the first half was quite slow, and then the second half was very fast. And we saw a pretty dramatic increase in the prices of silicon, solar glass, silver, and aluminium. I think silver, the reason for the increase in silver prices was largely macroeconomic. Solar only takes about 10% of global silver supply. And silver output was actually down about 5% last year because some of the mines closed. But that price variation was not due to solar, but it did impact solar prices. Glass supply was limited because a lot of the glass manufacturers were not set up to make the sort of glass that is suitable to make bifacial modules, so thin, tempered, large sheets. And so the price soared quite dramatically towards the end of the year. And silicon prices rose as well because demand was very strong. And also a couple of factories went offline in the late summer. But it was all very concentrated in the last few months of the year. And we'll come back to this. So this shows the this chart is a supply curve showing the overall supply situation for silicon in 2021. The y-axis is our best estimate of the variable cost of producing silicon from each of these factories. The x-axis is the cumulative capacity to make silicon. And each of these blocks is a factory. So the very cheapest, we think, is the East Hope factory in Xinjiang. Then there's one by Tongwei in Inner Mongolia and Sichuan. And then the Western suppliers are at the very expensive end of the supply curve. And we estimate that demand for silicon is somewhere between about 405,000 tons and about 550,000 tons. So it's possible that there will be some tightness of silicon supply this year, particularly supply under $9 a kilogram, or at least under about $8 a kilogram. Given that these silicon companies do demand a profit as well, we estimate that the typical price of silicon this year will be about $12 a kilogram, whereas last year it was less than $10. So prices will stay a little higher. And what companies that make wafers are doing to prepare for that is they are signing long-term contracts. This chart on the left is the big wafer makers. LONGi makes a lot of mono wafers. All of these are essentially major manufacturers of wafers, and these are the companies they've contracted for silicon supply with. So supply contracts for silicon have an interesting history. There was a massive supply crunch in 2004 to 2008. Prices for silicon were above $400 a kilogram. And bear in mind, we're saying $12 this year. In 2008, prices were $400 a kilogram. And now they're 12. Actually, right now they're about 14, sorry. But we think that will come down slightly in 2021. So these companies are signing long-term contracts to secure their feedstock. Unlike last time, they are not fixed price. They are floating prices based on the spot market, but the wafer makers are committing to take off volumes. And that means that the silicon makers should have the confidence to expand, knowing there will be demand for their products. And this is really quite a large volume, 597 gigawatts worth of silicon in 5 years. That's sort of 100 gigawatts a year of contracted, locked-in volume. It's interesting. It shows that the market is becoming less related to the spot market and much more thinking about long-term partnerships. And all of this is supporting the solar experience curve. I don't know if you're familiar with this already, but this y-axis is a log-log curve. This x-axis is a log cumulative capacity curve. And we can start tracking this all the way back to 1976, when a solar module cost about $25 per watt without inflation adjustment. If you adjust it for inflation, it's actually about $86 a watt. And if you track these inflation adjusted numbers all over time as the solar industry got bigger and bigger and bigger, it's a fairly good fit to a straight line. It's an experience curve where every time you double cumulative capacity of solar, you reduce the price of modules by about 28.6%. And this is due to all kinds of little tweaks underneath it. It's to do with using less silver, using less silicon, making wafers thinner, making cells more efficient, moving to more buzz bars with thinner, deeper bits of silver paste. And this experience curve is very, very powerful. The longer the solar industry works on modules, the better it gets at it. And we do just expect this to continue into the future. And we use this to estimate price going forward. And we publish a benchmark regularly of where we think the cost of a utility scale solar system should be very approximately. They vary so much, but this is intended as a benchmark for negotiations. We think that in 2021, a typical 100 megawatt solar system will cost about 58 US cents per watt, a little bit down from last year, with module prices averaging probably around 19 cents a watt. And that will continue to come down to hit about 15 cents per watt for modules and 49 cents per watt for systems in 2025. So the really big cost improvements of the past will probably stop because it's much more difficult to cut costs when your system costs 58 cents per watt than it is when your system costs $3 a watt. That's kind of the point of the experience curve. The cheaper you get, the more you have to work for every additional cent per watt of capex. But solar will continue getting cheaper and also probably somewhat better as well. Bifacial modules produce a bit more energy than monofacial modules. And they are essentially getting more efficient and getting better. Some of this will translate to profits for manufacturers. In general, solar manufacturing, particularly in the module part of the value chain, is a very difficult business. Companies frequently make negative margins in the cell and module part of the value chain. So this shows the EBIT margins on the y-axis and the approximate position in the value chain along the bottom. And this is for the third quarter of 2020, just because that's the latest quarter that we have data for most of these companies for. I will update this for the fourth quarter, but I can't do it yet. What you can see here, first of all, the third quarter of 2020 was actually quite good. Most of these companies made positive margins, even in the cell and module part of the value chain. There are some manufacturing equipment suppliers making good money as well. And in fact, there are a couple of inverter makers here, like Enphase, like Goodwe, like SunGrow, and SolarEdge, which are solidly positive. Making inverters is actually I think it's a nicer business than making cells and modules because there is a higher barrier to entry. Inverter makers need to have a good local support team to help people debug their inverters and replace any breakages. And essentially, customers rely very heavily on local service for inverters, and that makes it much more difficult to make a effective international inverter maker without being actually a good company, if you see what I mean. It's also, there are some technological barriers. You genuinely need a good design to sell inverters, whereas cells and modules are quite commoditized, even the best ones. So LONGi has pioneered monotech, but they're only a little bit ahead of their competitors, whereas inverter makers, I think there's more room to have a genuinely technologically better solution. That said, what customers want of all solar equipment is just that it works, and that it works as it says on the tin, and that it's actually and it's cheap and affordable. There's no point having a 200% better solution if it's 400% more expensive. But in 2020, there were margins across the value chain and prices were strong enough for companies to make money. And we think Q4 was better. Part of the reason for that was that 2020 demand for solar was very skewed. So this is annual installations by month in China, and it's cumulative. So basically China hit 48 gigawatts AC in December. And you can see that it really soared in December. And that was because the end of December was the last date to access a subsidy. So in the past, usually there's been a bit of a speed up at the end of the year to meet this deadline. But 2020 was remarkable. There were over 20 gigawatts of solar officially installed. Maybe not everything was quite completed in December. And so there was just this huge pull of demand in the last month of the year that just sucked all the modules and probably all the inverters as well, though we don't track that as much, into China. And that's another reason why we saw prices tick up at the very end of the year. And we expect those prices to moderate a bit later in 2021 as we hit. Usually the second quarter, the second quarter is quite a slow period for demand globally. And particularly China is the largest market in the world. You can see that it's not particularly busy in the second quarter. So a huge timed policy-driven rush in 2020 in China, and also Vietnam. We actually thought Vietnam would probably install about 3 or 4 gigawatts total in 2020. And then it installed 6 gigawatts of rooftop solar in December. So again, the end of the year was just, it just had such sudden demand around the world. No wonder the supply was constrained for things like silicon and glass. And we kept having to revise our total numbers up too. I think our first publication of what we estimated was build in 2020 was about 135, and we're pretty sure it's over 140 now. It was a big year, largely because of December. I should just say Vietnam, the boom in Vietnam is probably over. There was a deadline on the 31st of December for a feed-in tariff of $83.4 per megawatt hour. And the government is considering new legislation, but I think they will not do anything so generous and be much more careful, because they do now have 3 or 4 times as much solar as they actually targeted, and they have to pay subsidies for it. India is building about 10 to 12, well, it's auctioning 10 to 12 gigawatts a year. So the government is issuing auctions to build about 10 or to 12 gigawatts per year. And India had a big down year in 2020. It was under 5 gigawatts new build, mainly because of the pandemic, which hurt India particularly badly. And a lot of those projects were actually delayed till 2021 because the government allowed that. India is a complicated market, and solar tends to be very, very low price. But we expect 2021 to be quite strong again, with probably about 12 gigawatts built. In the US, we're expecting a new regime of more than 20 gigawatts of solar built every year. So new records being set. And wind as well. But this is even without knowing for sure what the new administration in the US will do to support renewables. We really don't know that yet, but we are pretty sure that with the existing federal investment tax credit, more than 20 gigawatts per year will be built. The other interesting thing about the US is that we have good data on inverter loading ratios. We know that in 2010, a typical inverter loading ratio in the US was about 1.2. And as of 2019, it was about 1.35. So basically much more many more inverters. So many more modules are being added to every inverter. Just globally, we are bullish on the future of solar because it is the cheapest source of new bulk electricity generation in a lot of countries. We can argue about the US for a long time, but this is our estimate of the cost of generating a megawatt hour. So this chart shows the countries and their cheapest source of generating new electricity. So if it's yellow or orange, it's solar. If it's blue, it's wind. There are a few countries where it's still natural gas or coal. But most of the world, the cheapest source of new generation is now either solar or wind. And even in the places where it's wind, there will be areas where it's actually solar, particularly the south. So renewables are the cheapest source of new bulk electricity in countries representing more than 2/3 of the world population and 90% of electricity generation. It's going to be a huge decade for building renewables, and it's exciting to be part of it. One thing that's happening in the US as well is storage. It's quite hard to track battery pipeline, but if you look at the top developers of solar projects in the US, a great many of them have really big battery pipelines as well. So NextEra and Quinbet are building almost as much batteries as they are building solar. And it looks like we're moving to a stage where nearly every solar project in the US will have batteries attached. It's just really amazing. And it's partly to compete with gas peaker plants in the US, because a lot of the gas peaker plants in the US only run for 6 hours at a time. So you can actually cover that quite well with a battery. And storage is going to be a thing. And that really does affect the choices that inverter makers should do. It's also the case in China. China has announced a lot of battery deployments for renewable plus storage. So a lot of them are in Qinghai, which is where they're used to reduce curtailment, and also Shandong. But there are wind plus storage projects being announced as well. And that was actually all the content I had prepared for you. I'd be interested in taking some questions, if you have any. I see somebody has asked, how long will the pandemic influence last on the European PV market? And my answer to that would be, what effect of the pandemic on the European PV market? I'm sitting here in Switzerland, and the pandemic has affected our life a lot. We are under complete lockdown, we can't go out. But the solar market has not really changed at all. Europe actually installed more solar than we expected last year. And there is no real difficulty with financing projects or building them, because most construction is outside. Yeah, we were really surprised, and we spent most of 2020 trying to adjusting our forecast, thinking that the pandemic was going to be huge. But in fact, it had a huge impact on India and not so much on the rest of the world. Also, I think off-grid markets, a lot of Africa was affected, and South America somewhat. Thank you. Craig, do we have any other questions?
Hi, Jenny. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Craig.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing. Actually, I just listened by myself, and to be frank, I can treat it as a really guidebook for all the people who are working in the PV industry for this year, actually. Thank you very much. And also, I forget to say that, Jenny, happy Women's Day today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Jenny. That's all for Jenny's sharing, and I hope, also we all hope that we can have this kind of activity again, and maybe we are looking forward to your new market analysis. Okay, so next, let's welcome our GoodWeek's marketing manager, Eugene, to give us introduction about our latest solution in both utility scale project and energy storage project. Let's welcome Eugene.
Thanks, Craig. Thank you. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the opening session of GoodWeek's global event. My name is Eugene, and today I'll be sharing with you the advantages of GoodWeek's 1500-volt solution in different application scenarios, and we'll also briefly mention our storage solutions. At Goodwe, our priority really is to develop technology and solutions that can help users reduce costs, increase efficiency, and simplify maintenance. So I'm just going to get right into the presentation. In the next few years, we can expect to see an exponential rise in the 1500-volt applications globally. If a few years ago it only represented a small share of the market, in a couple of years, by 2023 really, we can expect the 1500 volt to constitute really the vast majority of projects worldwide. And the reason for this is quite obvious. The 1500 volt has many advantages compared to the 1100 volt, for example. And at Goodwe, we're very proud to introduce our 250 kilowatts 1500 volt HT series, designed to reduce costs. We estimate a cost reduction of approximately 5 cents per watt. Again, also a cost reduction for pile foundation of approximately the same amount, 5 cents per watt. And because of all the cables and infrastructure that is being saved, we also estimate a reduction of land required of about 2%, and an increase in electricity generation of about 1 to 2%. So amounts that are not negligible, very efficient, very productive, very useful for the system owner. One of the trends that we've seen in the last few years is definitely the rise of high power modules. We often hear this again and again. We live in the era of high power modules. Well, we're glad to say that our HT inverter with a maximum DC input current of 15 amp per string is indeed compatible with the latest modules available on the market by the mainstream module manufacturers. And in the case of modules with an even higher power rating, we do actually have a solution that can cater to the system's requirements. And we do this by arranging the configuration in such a way where most of the MPPTs are connected to one string, but some of them are allowed to connect to 2 string. And this system ensures that there is absolute minimum power loss, almost zero power loss. Again, very efficient, allowing the system to operate at its maximum potential. And if we now live in the era of high power modules, the same can be said about bifacial modules. In the graph on the slides, you can see in light blue the maximum power of a traditional module, and in dark green you can see the extra energy generated by a bifacial module. And again, you can notice how it's still lower than 15 amps, so our inverter is indeed compatible with these with this latest trend of the bifacial modules. Also, bifacial modules are increasingly used together with tracking systems, and the HT inverter is indeed capable of supplying power to the tracking system from the AC side. And we also have an RS485 communication port to communicate with the tracking system. Now moving on to floating PV projects. As you can imagine, floating PV projects can be quite challenging when it comes to maintenance, as a boat or a small vessel is often required to access the site. And at Goodwe, we have devised a solution, we call it centralized placement, where all the system components, all the inverters, all the components are packed in a small surface area to allow for easy O&M. So again, very efficient, very easy maintenance. And also, I would like to emphasize the comprehensive protections, IP66 for the whole inverter, IP68 for the external fans, for the external cooling fans. Goodwe's inverter has an internal PID repair board, very advanced anti-PID solution. We have an internal PID module for autonomous intelligent operation, detection, and of course you can adjust the output voltage. Also, this inverter has internal temperature and humidity detection to automatically detect any potential issues. Another area that represents a major challenge in many cases are mountain PV project solutions. Goodwe's inverter with 12 MPPTs can essentially limit the power loss caused by factors such as obstruction of mountains, dust covering, external ridges, different surface levels typical of installation in mountainous areas. And Goodwe system with multiple MPPTs and IV curve diagnosis is intelligent. It supports online IV diagnosis at plant level, sub-array level, and inverter level. It can analyze the causes of faults automatically and provide real live problem resolution. You have an automatic generation of analysis reports for site levels, very efficient, one start button, saving tons of cost on what would otherwise be expensive labor, and powerful online detection. In less than 30 minutes, you can detect the problems for roughly an area corresponding to approximately 100 megawatt, all in less than 30 minutes. And here you can see our SEMS platform that allows the user to get a quick overview of all power plants in the system. And for each power plant, you get all the inverters with all the serial numbers, diagnosis time, status, and if there should be any issue, you can quickly detect it, locate it, and get suggestions on problem resolutions in real time. Very quick, very efficient, and drastically reducing maintenance time. Very advanced, very sophisticated. Moving forward to then large-scale C&I rooftop projects. For this situation, the advanced protection and security is key, and we are glad to mention that we do indeed have default Type 2 SPD on the DC side, on the AC side, and Type 3 SPD on the communication board. Optional remote shutdown, optional AFCI 2.0, and AC terminal temperature detection. For the remote shutdown function, you can cut off the AC side in case of emergency, suitable for scenarios with RS-485 communication, and the system can be configured with up to 40 inverters, meaning that with one button, you can immediately shut down 40 inverters in case of emergency. Then we have our high voltage zero export solution that can help increase the self-consumption ratio of the PV system. For factories with a 10 kilovolt, 35 kilovolt high voltage incoming lines, the zero export configuration on the 35 kilovolt side can ensure that you've got a high PV self-use ratio of each 10 kV unit. And what it essentially does, it transfers the excess energy to the next transformer that then feeds the next inverter in the system instead of going to waste. So again, it's all about maximizing the system efficiency for the benefit of all stakeholders involved. Our other features, not to forget the very efficient heat dissipation system of our HT inverter with 6 powerful NMB fans. We have a very powerful generation performance. As you can see, a higher DC input, higher AC output than most traditional inverters results in a DC to AC ratio that now exceeds 1.5, while most traditional inverters typically are just shy of 1.3. The SVG function at night, an advanced SVG function based on integrated IGBT, compared with the traditional one using TCR. This means a faster reaction time in less than 10 milliseconds, capable of generating both capacitive reactive and inductive reactive power, and saving cost for the system owner and operator. We have a complete communication solution with a USB port, RS-485, PLC, you name it, everything is there. You can do rapid commissioning and local monitoring via the app, fault recording and analysis with the laptop, and local firmware update through the USB flash drive. You can integrate several SCB 3000 units to create an actual optical fiber ring. Through the router, you can then upload the data to the SEMS portal, and if need be, if required, you can then upload that to a third-party monitoring system. It's compatible with weather stations, multiple units can communicate together. It supports remote shutdown in emergency situation, very comprehensive overall communication system. And the key features of our solution really, they can be divided into these 4 major points really. We always stress that the emphasize, the redundant protection. One protection and one as backup in case of need. So always two sets of protection, two sets of AC relay, the master-slave DCP plus the CPLD. Powerful operation monitoring. It can save tons of cost on cables, and obviously the convenient O&M and maintenance can also be done at night. I'd just like to now mention our storage solutions in multiple scenarios. As you probably know, Goodwe is the market leader in hybrid inverters with a 15% market share. No brand has sold more storage inverters than Goodwe. Let's look at the different scenarios now. The first one is the self-use scenario, and in this situation, the PV system prioritizes the loads first. Any excess energy that's generated by the system is fed into the batteries. And in this case, you would only use the energy from the grid as a last resort, only in a situation, say, where perhaps at night when the PV generation is low, and should the battery be 0%, then it will use the grid. Otherwise, it will not use the grid. It prioritizes the load first, any excess energy generated straight to the battery. In backup mode, we have a strong backup capacity up to 10 kilowatt full backup capacity. Multiple load types, strong overload capacity, and seamless. UPS level switch time less than 10 milliseconds. And finally, the time of use mode. In this mode, the user can take advantage of price variations during the day to discharge at peak price, meaning you are using the energy from the battery at a time when the energy is more expensive, and using the energy from the grid only at a time when of low demand, perhaps when the electricity is a lot cheaper. This is very useful in scenarios where you have price variations during the day, peak prices and valley prices. Again, taking advantage of price variations during the day to maximize savings and reduce your bill to almost zero effectively. And the main features of our storage solutions, this one is actually for three-phase. Our AET inverter is capable of this unbalanced output solution. You have different AC output for each phase to basically limit export and maximize efficiency. 100% unbalanced output, 100% unbalanced charge. And our UPS level switch time, integrated, automatic, seamless, less than 10 milliseconds. And finally, just to mention our pure off-grid solution, we have intelligent control, strong off-grid output capability, comprehensive protections, SPD Type 2, IP65, and a feature that is typical of all Goodwe inverters is easy installation. Our inverters are indeed all very easy to install. And also we have, not to forget, our retrofit solution. This is actually for users who perhaps already have an existing PV system installed, but wish to upgrade their system to a full storage solution. And we have AC coupled retrofit inverters. In this case, the system owner would actually have 2 inverters installed on their system, hybrid plus on-grid. And then our integrated solution, all components, all units, all scenarios, save 30% on time, 30% space for a higher system efficiency. The real DC oversizing, this is an example of a 10 kilowatt inverter, but as you can see, it is basically capable of 15 kilowatt output. So again, there it's maximizing efficiency for the owner. And finally, our product overview for our storage portfolio. Goodwe has the most comprehensive storage portfolio available on the market. As the #1 storage inverter supplier worldwide, we have everything covering single phase, 3-phase, split phase, residential, CNI. We have an all-in-one solution where all the components are packed into one unit. That's the one you see over on the right of the screen. and we have the more sort of traditional battery plus inverter as separate units. We go all the way from 3 kilowatts in single phase up to 50 kilowatts for our C&I storage solution. And we're proud to say that Goodwe has recently launched a new battery series called Lynx Home. This now makes Goodwe a true one-stop solution provider for all your storage needs. We have high voltage batteries and low voltage batteries, and all types of hybrid inverters to go with it. I'd now like to move on to talk about Goodwe's global presence. Goodwe was founded in 2010 in Suzhou, China, just near Shanghai, and in this short time, just over 10 years, we've come a really long way. Goodwe is now a major player in the global solar energy industry. We have offices all over the world in Asia, Southeast Asia, the Indian subcontinent. We have a presence in the Middle East and Africa. We have a very strong presence in Europe, in markets like Germany, but also Spain, Italy, the Netherlands, Poland, just to mention a few, of course. Obviously, we have our European headquarters in Munich, Germany. We have offices in important markets, or a presence in important markets in South America, Brazil, Mexico. Also an office in Orlando, Florida for the US market. So we have 3 R&D centers in China, 2 manufacturing bases in China, more than 20 local offices, a production capacity that now exceeds 20 gigawatt, and more than 2,000 global employees. And important to mention here is that among these 2,000 employees, we have a large number of R&D staff, more than 200 members of R&D, and a very large number of engineers, which allows Goodwe to offer a comprehensive service of pre-sales and after-sales. And this is actually something that as a company we care deeply about, offering customers excellent customer service. It's central to our mission, and it's the reason why year after year our customers continue to trust in us and confide in us for our solutions, not just for our solutions, a high-level technology, but also for our excellent customer service. And it is precisely because of this commitment to high quality standards that Goodwe has been the proud recipient of numerous awards globally. Here, I would just like to mention a few. Back in 2018, Goodwe was ranked number 4 globally for 3-phase string inverters. Between 2017 and 2020, Goodwe was the proud recipient of the EU PD Top Brand for Australia and the Netherlands for 4 consecutive years. And Goodwe is currently the only inverter brand to have won the prestigious TÜV Rheinland Award for 5 consecutive years between 2015 and 2019. But perhaps our most treasured award of all came last year when Wood Mackenzie confirmed us as the global #1 storage supplier for hybrid inverters for the year 2019 with a 15% market share. No inverter brand has sold more storage products than Goodwe. And finally, in 2018, Goodwe won the Best Design Solar Inverter Award from Red Dot. Over the years, Goodwe has achieved exponential growth in the residential segment, storage, C&I, utility. We've now developed our own batteries as well as smart energy management software to enable system owners to benefit from the most advanced and sophisticated monitoring systems for problem resolution, analysis, and countless other applications. We're now a major player in the solar industry and will always be committed to developing technology and applications to advance the energy transformation and move forward in the energy transition. Thank you very much for your time today. You can follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Goodwe Solar Academy. Our email contact is academy@goodwe.com, and you can visit our website, community.goodwe.com. That's all from me. Thank you very much. Back to you, Craig.
Thank you very much for your sharing, Eugene. Okay, so if any of you have any questions, so you can just simply contact us by email or on our website, just like Eugene said. Okay. So next will be Jason from Longi Solar. Hello, Jason. Are you there?
Hello. Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Very good.
To be frank, I'm very excited cannot wait to see your presentation actually, because we are really want to know what will Longi prepare for this new year. So it's your turn, Jason.
All right. So, hello everyone. It's good to see you. I'm Jason Yan, marketing product manager at Longi. So today my topic is about the technology trend of PV model. My presentation will include three parts. The first one is about technology trend of PV model, and the second part is the Longi product portfolio, and third part is advantage of Longi product. So basically, what is a technology trend? So from our point of view, the idea is always to get a lower LCOE, which can enable our customer has a high profit. So at Longi, where consistent investment in R&D enables us to develop products with better performance and lower cost, and deliver products with better BOS saving and improved energy yield, and helping customers to realize low LCOE. For example, in 2015, at Longi, we started to promote the monocrystalline silicon technology. And in that year, we mainly promoted the diamond wiring slicing technology. Actually, this technology helped the whole industry can save $2 billion each year. This is a great contribution to the PV industry. And also, after that year, we promote the PERC and Bifacial PERC, half-cut, and M6, and this year's and the 20s M10 standard wafer. And all this technology help increase the market share of monocrystalline technology and help our customer to reduce the LCOE about 32%. All right, so first of all, we think the technology trend should have a higher efficiency. Longi started mass production of PERC cells and model in 2016, which led to industry-wide adoption of PERC cell. And Longi's research developed and product efficiency PERC cell has always maintained a leading position and currently maintain 24.06% PERC cell efficient record. And recently, our PERC mass production efficiency has reached 23.2%. We think we still have a room to increase the PERC cell efficiency to reach the limit about 24%. So this is actually a technology trend, a high efficiency cell. And another technology, of course, is the bifacial technology. Basically, the bifacial technology we Longi started promote in 2017, and now the bifacial tech, the market share has reached about 20%, and we think that the market share will go up in the next 5 years increasingly. And indeed, at Longi, the bifacial model, the share is about 40%. We think we continued to promote bifacial technology. And basically, for the bifacial mode, normally we use the 2 millimeters glass and 2 millimeter dual glass to reduce the model weight, and the POE encapsulation to increase the reliability of model. And of course, we adopt a unique no-see side design for the short frame, in which case the design can help us increase the energy yield about 0.6%. So another direction is we think is that the optimal size for the PBA model. Actually, in the second half year of 2018, different spec model wafer emerged. And from our point of view, we think M6, which is a 166 millimeter spec, is based on analysis of current steel and model capability and reform cost, and also the supply of glass is considered. And the M6 product is suitable for a different scenario, such as residential, rooftop, CNI, and utility scale. And now the shipment of longitude HAMR 4 based on M6 wafer is over 10 gigawatts. And in 2020, we launched the HAMR 5 based on 182 optimal size for the new capacity, which is mainly for the large utility scale power plants. So the logic of developing HAMR 5 is based on the new build capacity and the entire industry chain. M10 wafer size was introduced to realize the standardization of manufacturing system and application system. And it also realized the reduction of model manufacturing cost and system both cost. And based on our thorough analysis on the model manufacturing and deployment process, an optimal model dimension is determined, and the corresponding wafer of size of 182 millimeters is deduced. And we think the future innovation should focus back on the improvement of cell efficiency and power generation, which can help our customer get a lower LCOE. And second part, we introduce the longitude product portfolio. So basically, our product include HAMR 4 and HAMR 5. For HAMR 4, we have three different products. For example, 60 cells and 66 and 72 cells. And for the 72 cell, the maximum power is about 450 watts, and the efficiency reach 20.7%. And our HAMR 4 uses the PPERC with low LID and 9 busbar half cell technology with the M6 gallium doped mono wafer. So the HAMR 4 is produced for residential CNI and rooftop and utility scale. And HAMR 5, basically the mainstream, our main product is the 72 cell product with the efficiency about 21.1%, and the power is 540 watts. The same with HAMR 4 with the PPERC with low LID and 9 busbar half cell and 10 gallium doped wafer. So HAMR 5 is mainly for the large power plants. So for the HAMR 4 series, the different cells product is suitable for different application scenario. The length of the model covers the range of 1.75 meters to 2.1 meters. And the model weight covers the range of 19.5 kilograms to 23.5 kilograms. For example, we have 60 cells and 66 cells and 72 cells for different scenario for residential, and 66 mainly for residential and CNI. And the power is 410 to 420 watts. And the 72 cells model is the power is 450 to 460. And this is basically for residential and CNI scenario. And for the large power plants, we have the HAMR 5 series. So the HAMR 5 is the optimal model size for large power plants. It has an ultra high power with run set power up to 545 watts with efficiency to 21.3 efficiency by using M10 wafer. This is the best choice for ultra large power plants. And we have insight on size. We think the optimal model size for the power plants is a 182 millimeters wafer we take into account every factor such as manufacturing yield, transportation, reliability, and the BOS cost to the industry. And in the HAMO 5, we adopt the smart soldering technology to further increase the model efficiency. And we use the integrated segment ribbons to maximize the front side light and capturing and connect cells with a reduced gap. This is a good combination of high efficiency and high reliability. So this is a brief introduction of the smart soldering technology. Basically, it uses integrated segment ribbons. The triangular section in the front can maximize the use of sunlight, and the micro gap technology is the best combination of high efficiency, reliability, and cost. And the flag section can achieve dense soldering with lower stress, and normally it can reach about 20% lower stress than normal MBB bus bars. And in conclusion, the model efficiency can increase about 0.3% compared to commercial MBB product. So this part, I will talk about our R&D focus. So every year at LONGi, we spend about 5% to 7% of our revenue on the R&D. So nowadays, we think we mainly develop the high efficient cell technology. So we continue to develop and develop advanced technology. And from our point of view, we think the passive contact and the heterojection cell technology can achieve 0.8 to 1% cell efficiency compared with P-PERC cells. However, the major challenge for this technology is high cost and the high volume and high mass production feasibility. And also for the back contact, the efficiency is 1.5 to 2.5% higher. Also, the cost is higher, and the high volume manufacturing feasibility is need to realize. So we think we will introduce the right technology into production when it makes economic sense for a customer. Probably, I think in these years, maybe in 1 year or 2 years, this technology will be available. And third part, I will introduce the advantage of LONGi product. So we have built a lot of pilot projects all over the world, from the Saudi Arabia, India, and China, and to USA. We have a lot of data showing the bifacial gain of our bifacial model. Basically, the bifacial gain for different ground surface and the track and is about 5% to 20%. So this, all this data give our customer a best confidence about the bifacial model. And now it's well recognized by our customer, and LONGi's bifacial model has shipped over 10 gigawatts. And we think not all the bifacial model shows the same energy yield. Actually, in the PBL workshop 2020, it showed 4 companies bifacial gain for the same ground surface. Actually, LONGi's product shows a significantly higher energy yield. The bifacial gain, for example, for the grass albedo is about 7.46%, and for the white albedo, the bifacial gain is 11.44%. So the results also show that the energy yield of LONGi bifacial model is higher than other manufacturers. And also for the PV magazine test, the test organized by German PV magazine, so together with CEA, and it also shows that LONGi's product shows significantly higher energy yield than other products. And actually, the data is from the 2018 to the 2020. And not only is a higher energy yield, LONGi's product also is higher reliable. In 2020's ITC, LONGi is the only manufacturer that has performed well in all 8 indicators in the ITC PV Model Index report 2020. For example, in the dynamic mechanical loading test, LONGi is the only one can pass the power loss less than 1%. This is pretty good data. And also in the DH2000 and PID, 182 hours and TC6 test, all the LONGi products pass these tests and meet the criteria. And in the BOS cost, so when we use the Goodwe inverter, we compared with 595 watts motors. In 120 rack scenario, the HAMR 5 can save both cost about 0.15 cents per watt. The scenario is in Middle East and 2P fixed mounts. So the basic saving is attributed to the mounts and the foundation and the cables. So summary, LONGi insists on providing high-value product to customer, and a technology trend should be high efficiency, high reliable, and high energy yield. And there is the optimal model size for the residential CNI and the utility scenario, like I mentioned before. So big is not always better. That's all. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you very much for your sharing, Jason. And also thanks again to all the speakers. Although this seminar is not long, but the content is rich, and also speeches given by all the speakers are very wonderful, actually. So what's past is prologue. We firmly believe that 2021 will be a great start, and Goodwe will, as always, be your most solid backing. Although today's GoodWeek Global has ended, our follow-up activities are even more exciting. On Tuesday, GoodWeek China, to learn about the latest industry trends in one of the world's largest PV markets. On Wednesday, Goodwe EMEA, in collaboration with PV Magazine, to receive information on regulation, market, and technology developments in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. On Thursday, GoodWeek Asia Pacific will be jointly held by New Venture to trigger the insights from industry experts across Asia Pacific. On Friday, we will collaborate with Energia Strategica and Canal Solar to discover the new possibilities in Latin America. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for your watching. See you tomorrow.